Keenan Shanholtz here, West Virginia Land and Home Realty, on the property located at 132 Breezy Cove Lane in Romney, West Virginia. So I'm standing back here at kind of like where the pasture on this meets the wooded ground. And when you're looking at it on the aerial, I mean, this is easy to pick out, but there's a power line there that runs kind of down through the middle of your wooded section. I mean, you got about 5 acres of woods and 8 acres of pasture in here. And you can see, I mean, the tree line over there, you can see the neighbor's house. Well, that's a shed that the neighbor has right there, the house on up there. But it follows that fence line right out to Jersey Mountain Road. And if you see those homes up there, they're on the other side of Jersey Mountain Road, which is, you know, a pretty main thoroughfare here in the Hampshire County area. There's public water up there available along Jersey Mountain Road. This is a really popular and desirable area for around here because you're 4 miles off of Route 50 out here. You're 5 miles from the high school, middle school, hospital, restaurants, grocery store. I mean, it's a really convenient location for in this area. And this ground's unrestricted, so that's getting, I'm sure if you've looked, that's getting harder and harder to find something that's not in a subdivision where you're dealing with covenants and, you know, an HOA and everything. But this property, I mean, it could be used for a multitude of things, but really it's probably best served as a little farmette or whatever. You know, if you wanted to build a house here, put up a Mazda or a double wide, you know, whatever you want to do, and have some livestock, it's perfect for that. I mean, and that's a really hard setup to find. But I would say, you know, the best building site's probably right back here against the wood line back here on this hump, you know, so it kind of gets you away from the road a little bit, and the woods are kind of behind of you. But, you know, so Jersey Mountain up there, and, you know, you could, if you wanted to bring your driveway off Jersey Mountain, you could do that and bring it along the high side back through here. And then Breezy Cove Lane comes in this way, and the old shack that's on the property sitting right there, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But what I want to show you here, there's a little pond right here on the property. I mean, it's, you know, just for livestock to drink out of. But if you notice, this drainage area down in here is pretty big. So if you wanted to have a bigger pond here, you know, it's set up pretty well for that, kind of how there's 2 drainages that kind of come down. And I would assume there's probably a spring right up there to the left of that electric pole there, because you can see the grass is a little bit higher and there's an indentation in the ground right there. So I would assume there's probably a little wet weather spring there. And even though this thing has public water, there are 2 wells here on the property. There's a well kind of like off the front porch of the house, and then there's what appears to be like a newer well kind of just off the side of the house, and it has a pump and everything in it the way it looks. And it looks like it services, there's like a watering trough right there with a frost-free hydrant. The owners don't know the condition of the well. I took the cap off of it. It doesn't say anything under the cap, like it's when it was drilled or anything like that. But it appears to be newer because the casing on it's PVC as opposed to steel. So having the well here, you know, you could use that as your domestic water, or you can just use that for livestock. And I think that's what it was being used for. And you can see the old shack right here. I mean, it needs to be torn down. But let me kind of try not to walk too fast here, but let me get you around here and kind of show you what we're dealing with. So you got some cleanup to do here. The good news is it's pretty much all isolated. All the junk and stuff seems to be isolated kind of right here around the shack. But you got some old tires you got to get rid of, and there's bottles laying in the woods here, and just basic trash. And then the little shack's got a bunch of trash on the inside of it. I mean, it needs to be knocked down. But there is electric service here. The meter's been pulled off, but you can see there's electric that runs through the property. So that's easy, you know, to have electricity to wherever you want to build at. There is an outhouse right there. I don't know if there's a septic system here. I kind of think that there's not. because of the outhouse. And you can see, I mean, my truck's pulled right off of Breezy Cove Lane right there. And I'll walk you around here. I mean, the front porch is pretty rickety. I mean, it's obviously a tear down. But I do want to show you. So there's an older looking well and a pressure tank right off the porch behind that metal siding right there. But the new well is right here. And like I said, I pulled the cap off of it. And a lot of times, you know, under the cap, it'll tell, you know, how many gallons a minute it is, how deep it is. It doesn't say nothing under the cap, but usually when you see this PVC casing, I mean, that's something that's newer that was done, you know, probably starting in the 90s sometime. And I'll try to find some information on it in the health department to see, but it looks like that was designed to service this watering trough right here. And there's fencing, you know, it's probably 3/4 fence. They tore the fence out. The fence along Jersey Mountain Road up there, it looks like they took it out. So there's no fencing up there, but there's fencing down this side around, you know, kind of like the field edge and up along there. So, you know, I think it's serviceable. I mean, there were cows, you know, I live close to here, so there was cows in here not that long ago. Yeah, I mean, it's unrestricted, good location. And one more thing I'll say about this place. The mineral rights were sold off of this like in probably around 2008. And I have the documentation on that on my website. But the guy who owned this at the time sold the mineral rights off of this and all his other properties. And so did my family, which lives really close to here. And I subsequently bought a farm about a half mile out the road this way that I own that doesn't have the mineral rights. It didn't bother me. It didn't scare me off. I mean, to each his own. But the documentation's on the website in regards to that. So, you know, that'll be a personal choice for each buyer as to whether or not, you know, they can tolerate that. But it didn't bother me a bit. So, anyhow, that's the tour. And there's also a video of the wooded part back in the back you can check out. Keenan Shanholtz here, West Virginia Land and Home Realty. I'm at the back of the wooded portion of 132 Breezy Cove Lane. And what I wanted to point out here is that when you look at the aerial map of this thing, you'll see that the back half of it is, or the back 5 acres or so is shaped like a triangle, the wooded part. And the power line, so I'm kind of standing towards the back of that triangle, looking back up, and the power line goes out into the field on this property. But you got a really nice section of wooded property back here. It's got beautiful hardwoods back here. And kind of what I want to point out is a guide here. If you see, there's a metal T-post right here, which is in the line of the neighbor. So what it does when you're back here in the power line is I'm at this T-post, the property line kind of goes right through there that way about, oh, I'm going to say about 60 yards or so. And that's where the tip of the triangle is back there. So that's where the back, like, pointy corner is about 60 yards this way. And there's kind of like a little path you can see kind of going that way. And it's on a big tree. There's a big tree mark there. You can't miss it. And then there's a little fence, an old fence, which I'm going to assume is the line. So this is the very skinny back part of it. But I just jumped about 20-some deer back here. So, I mean, you could rifle hunt back here, but you'd have to watch what you're doing because there is houses around. But, you know, for bow hunting purposes and to ride ATVs and the power line stuff's great for that. But I'm just going to walk up through here, and you can see, you know, the neighbor's house through the woods right there. But I want to get on this fence here, which I'm going to assume is, there's no survey on this thing. You know, it's been sold in gross and not by the acre, but you can kind of tell, like right here where I'm at, there's some old fence. And you can see how there's a couple big trees through here and an old fence. And you can almost see how there's like a open lane right up through here. And if you see the big trees to the left, that's going to be the boundary of this property. So like I said, I'm back here in this narrow tip, and it's maybe, you know, 70 yards wide back here where I'm at. But all this that you're looking at through here, you know, kind of belongs to it. And you can see the other neighbor's house through here. You know, his line comes almost over to the power line. But like I said, this is being conveyed in gross and not by the acre. So is there 13 acres here? Is there 12? Is there 14 acres? You know, it's hard to say unless you have it surveyed. But I can pretty much make out, you know, kind of like where the lines are back here in the woods. You know, it kind of makes sense. So in the Onyx, the app on my phone has been pretty much spot on. So that's good. But just really nice back here. You got nice woods back here, whatever. Of course, when the leaves are on, you don't see a thing. So it's pretty neat. Keenan Shanholtz here, West Virginia Land and Home Realty. I'm on the property located at 132 Breezy Cove Lane. And what I want to point out here is, this is an addition to my first two videos. The property line here off of Breezy Cove Lane is kind of funky. If you see the pink ribbon there, that's the property line. So on the other side of that pink ribbon belongs to this property. And it kind of corners here in front of the house. If you see where the ribbon turns there with the neighbor, and you'll see my truck sitting in Breezy Cove Lane. Now, going back this way, the property line runs right behind the little outhouse right there. So actually the little driveway that comes in off of Breezy Cove Lane, as it stands now, is not a right-of-way. It's on the neighbor. So the neighbor was nice about it. And if you look at the tax map, you know, that appears to be correct. And it's tough because this property doesn't have a survey on it. But what I want to point out is where my truck's sitting here. Now, once it gets beyond this corner, I read the description here for the neighbor's property. And there's supposed to be a corner with the two neighbors in the line of this property, and it goes 600 and some feet. I think it's 609 feet up to Jersey Mountain Road. Now, I don't know where. There's the fence line for this property is over here. Now, the neighbor says the road actually used to come through here like this instead of where it is today. So I can't tell you. I'm not 100% for sure. I mean, I'm thinking right in here somewhere, you know, maybe you come in and make your entrance off Breezy Cove Lane here. You're just going to have to get it surveyed. But one thing that the neighbor's deed here says, it says that his ground is subject to Breezy Cove Lane. So in other words, you know, I guess there's acknowledgement there that people use this road, and you know, him buying that property was subject to this road. So until you have it really fully surveyed, I don't know where exactly it pops back out into the road as it is now, or what the deal is here exactly. So like I said, it's just but you, like I said, you have the access off of Jersey Mountain Road up there. You got a ton of frontage on Jersey Mountain, and the line comes through here somewhere. I just can't tell you without having a survey.